Oh, hey guys, I'm Simon, and we are in Minecraft, and we are working on the water temple. Although I showed you that last time, the lighting test, or just having a look at what the lighting does. I just spent 20 minutes trying to figure out where the center of the circle of the water temple should be, and I've decided it's right there. I don't know if you can see it. There's a block of dirt there in the middle of the water with a torch on it. Now you might wonder, why the hell do I spend 20 minutes putting a torch down in the middle of the water? Well, I think it's quite important to get this right at the start because, once you start building, it's very complicated to change it, and you don't want to change it. And having the center in the right place, I think it's also quite important because, we're making use of this lagoon and the hills on the sides around it, and so basically the 20 minutes was spent trying to figure out which view looks the best. So if you imagine the torch isn't there, if you put the center there or something and you're standing here, that's obviously off center, or if you do that, that's obviously off center. And so I started off here and trying to balance the two sides of the view and then trying to make it look good, right? So where would it look the best? So I decided somewhere around there looks good, and then I went all around the lagoon and did the same from first the four directions and then all around just to check that it's okay. And in some of the other videos I've been doing things like the Deus Ex architecture thing, and I talk about how sometimes you design something or you draw a concept artwork and then you build it in the game, and when you turn a 2D image into a 3D space, it doesn't always turn out as good as you would think it would, because it looks good from the angle that you drew it from, but from other angles then it looks a bit strange because you didn't consider the other views. And so as an architect dealing with three-dimensional space, it's very important to consider every view from every angle to make sure that it always looks good. And so again, if we stand here in a slightly different spot from before, and let's say that's trying to find the best view here, and admittedly that might not be the best. You might want to say that may be a bit better. That's not very good there. And then by saying bad and good, I'm talking about the balance and the symmetry and the vague symmetry there. So here you can see there's this stuff on this side, and then there's that feature there on that side. And just trying to find a view that looks good from a particular point. So this is okay, but you feel like there's something missing on the right here. Like here, you feel like it might look a bit better if there was something there to balance this thing on the left, or like this. So it's not perfect. But I guess you can't. Or maybe you can, but I think it's quite difficult to get something to look perfect from every single angle, and so you just try to get the best compromise. So here again, it seems a bit weighted on this side and a bit light on this side, because you have the cliffs here and the walls, but over here it's open. So this suggests to me that I need to do something here as well, just to balance it out. And I intend to, remember I was saying that the circle with the temple will be somewhere here, and then there'll be like the entryway will be over here, and so maybe I can build the entryway here to balance out this particular view, just to make it so that it doesn't seem like there's not enough stuff on the left side here. So even just looking at a landscape, or just looking at pretty much nothing, you're gonna start thinking about what you want to do and how it would look later on. And again here, there's this thing on the right, and then there's nothing over there, except for that thing that I've built, which isn't supposed to be there. And again, it seems like everything slopes down like that, and so then maybe there should be something here, and which I guess there will be now that I've decided that. And again, I mean, if you imagine that's not the center and that's not there, and we're trying to figure out where to put it, that's obviously lopsided over this way. There's too much stuff there. That seems a little too open. In fact, I don't think there's any good view here from this angle, which is convenient because we're at the bottom of a cliff, and so maybe we just make it so that you don't see it from that angle. Let's try up here. Slightly different, but same problem, like there's not enough stuff there. Obviously the lagoon is around, or the cliffs around the lagoon is around this way, and then it's open that side. So again, I definitely think that something needs to be there to, like, to close off the area. So as we walk around here, that's kind of good. Like, again, try to imagine if that thing's not supposed to be there. Now here, that's fairly balanced, although you might want to have it this way almost. Just slightly, to the right of where I put the center. And again, not trying to... just trying to make it so that it fits in vaguely well from most directions, instead of trying to make it perfect from every direction. And also, I guess we need to decide which views are more important than the others, because standing here at the bottom of the cliff, maybe this isn't even an important view at all, because you just make it so that people don't walk down here. In fact, I've given the prominence of that hill and this cliff, and that's the entrance. I guess those are the three views that are important. I'm not sure what happens over here though. I need to think about that a bit more. So if we come up onto this hill here, then we can look at what it looks like from here. So from up here, let's say that's the center there. Now this is quite nice because that hill is almost a self-contained structure, it's got a nice symmetry going on. It's got a nice shape to it. And so that serves as a good backdrop to whatever we build down here. And obviously whatever has that in the center and have it symmetrical, that would look quite good, I think, when facing this way. And see again, that's you really want it so that right there is in the center of the view. And obviously we can't do that with the water temple with the circle in the water, because that's in front of it. And so as we step around, and if we keep facing the torch there, you can't line up the center of the circle and the center of that hill everywhere. And so here I just put it so that when we're facing it straight on, and keeping in mind that Minecraft is full of cubes, and so there's always the square to think about, and so we're facing it square, then it's symmetrical. So that's lined up with that. And as we come around, that's fairly good, It's fairly symmetrical there, although you might want to shift it a little bit that way, maybe. So, on average, that I've decided is probably the best place to put the center of the circle. So that it looks kind of good on from most angles, or from every angle. And it looks perfect, or close to perfect, when you're square on and standing at the three special locations. So that's the thought process going behind just looking at a site and trying to decide what the possibilities of the site are and where to put a focal point on the site. I don't know if this is kind of interesting for you guys. I know some of you well, I'm guessing most of you aren't designers, and maybe you're just interested in seeing the epic final thing and not in the thought process that goes into designing it. But you know, I'm a designer, and I like to talk to other designers as well. And then if you're not too interested, that's okay. I'm sorry about that. But if you are interested in the thinking and the design process behind things, then yeah, this is the kind of stuff that goes on inside the head of any designer, or hopefully in a good designer's head. You look at things carefully and comprehensively from different angles and try to make sure you get it right. So I don't know how long that was. Anyway, I'll end the segment here. If that was a bit short, then I'll start building the circle and then I'll keep the video going after that. And if that was kind of long enough for a video, then I'll just make that a video and do the circle in the next one. So yep, so the center is going to be right there, and the next step will be to make the circle and put down the glass. Okay, so I guess I should explain the process before I keep going. As you can see, there's a dirt circle hanging above the water now. So what I had done was, well, remember how I had the torch in the middle? So I started from there, went out and across, just to see how big I wanted the circle to be. And again, I would build it and then walk around the whole perimeter to look at it to see how big it was. So at first I had like a 20 block radius, so up to there, and then I went around and had a look and decided it was too short, so I extended it again, another 5 blocks in each direction, and then looked at it again and decided that was better. So again, I guess the process is something that I want to emphasize. Is you always want to look and check and double check and try different things. Let me just... And and not just make something and then hope it works and just keep going, but always stop to check and double check and to make sure it looks right. So, and then obviously once I've got the 50 or the 25, well, okay, it's 51 blocks all the way across, because there's one in the middle and then there's 25 out from there. So once I got the 51 block diameter, then I drew the circle in Photoshop and then I built it out of dirt, and so now I'm going to walk around again and have a look at it. Now obviously that's too high up, and maybe I should have actually done it on the water surface so I can see it in the water, and that would be a better angle. So if you imagine we're a bit higher up. Anyway, this is just to check how the circle looks in the lagoon, right? And I think I like the size. It's pretty much fills up the whole space. And we can always, well, let's just go down. So yeah, maybe I should have actually put it on the water, but never mind that. So as we kind of come around and we look at it, it's a fairly good size, and it also changes the lagoon a bit. As if you've seen the videos about the zombie arena, I mean, the issue with a circle is once you've drawn a circle, then everything focuses at the center. And so whereas before when I was looking around the lagoon, I was talking about how the hills in the background create certain certain shapes and movement and motions, and I don't know what's the right word for it, but it seems to balance in certain ways. So there's a certain view, it seems like there's a wall over here and then there's open space over here, and so then you're always kind of drawn in that direction because that's where the open space is. But once you put a circle into it, then your attention becomes drawn to the center of the circle, because that's how circles work, right? They always focus towards the center. So yeah, and I didn't think of that before. So again, that highlights the importance of checking your work as you go. Because now that I put the circle in, and I can see that your attention is drawn towards the center of it instead of towards the cliffs and the hills around the lagoon, then maybe that makes things a bit easier for me, because I was talking about how from some angles the hills didn't look as balanced. But maybe it's not important anymore once you put the circle in, because then that becomes the focus of attention and the hills are less important, right? So let's we can climb up over here. And again, some people, they ask me, how do I go about designing things? Do I just have a rough idea and then just go for it, or do I plan things out and then build it? Well, so this is why I'm showing you the process, because sometimes people are interested. And so, as you can see, I have a rough idea, and then I start building it, and then step back and I check. And if I need to change the plan, then I change it. That's no problem. Or if I have new ideas, and I keep that in mind, and then I keep going. And then I build a bit more, and then check it again, build a bit more, check it again. That's how I do it in Minecraft. I don't suggest doing that, if you're an architect and working in real life. That's not a very good process to build a real building, unless it's your own home or something, and if something goes wrong, it's your own fault, and you're not costing someone a lot of money by messing up their building. But it's a game, and it's like a sketch. It doesn't matter if you mess up. It doesn't matter if you get it wrong. You can just erase it, do it again. It doesn't cost you anything. Whereas if you're an engineer and you're building a product, and you're basically wasting a lot of money messing around, that's not good. But so in the game, I'll do this. In reality, I would, not do it in the actual house, but then I would also I'll sketch, right? I have an idea, I'll sketch it, draw some plans, draw some perspectives, and then look at it, and then if I want to improve it, I'll change it, and then redraw the plans, redraw perspectives, incorporating the changes, and then see what that looks like, and so on and so forth. So the design process is the same. It's just that when you're designing real things, then you prototype, and you test the prototypes. You don't actually build the whole thing and then test it as you go. But the idea is the same. You want to keep going through the process of trying things out and then looking at it and then asking questions and then looking at it again. Anyway, the plan was to put the glass under 2 blocks of water. And I think I'll only need 1 block of water, but just in case I want to have it a bit darker, then I can have 2. So the glass has to go here, so I need to dig down to this level for the whole circle and then put the glass down. So that's gonna take a while, and I guess I'll do that and then come back. Or maybe I'll end this video here, because that's about 15 minutes, I think. Yeah, I'll do that, end this video here, and the next video I'll show you the next thing.